one sentence. As these micro starts stacked up, something inside him began to shift. He no longer saw himself as someone who procrastinated or avoided hard things. He began to see himself as someone who showed up, someone who took small but meaningful action. The identity change was slow but steady, and that shift was more powerful than any dramatic burst of motivation had ever been. Months passed, and Jordan's life looked different. He was stronger, calmer, more confident, and finally making progress on the things he cared about. The transformation didn't come from a grand plan. It came from tiny beginnings, repeated until they became part of who he was. Jordan didn't change his life all at once. He changed it 2 minutes at a time, and those small starts turned into a future he once thought was out of reach. 2-minute actions build momentum because they turn the hardest part, getting started, into something small and easy. When a task feels big, your mind hesitates. But when you shrink the beginning to something tiny, you remove the pressure, and your brain stops resisting. A 2-minute start feels safe, manageable, and quick. It gives you a way to move without overthinking. Once you begin, everything changes. A small action wakes up your motivation. It signals to your brain that you're already in motion, and motion naturally wants to continue. Washing one dish often leads to washing a few more. Reading one paragraph often leads to reading the next. Doing one stretch often leads to a longer workout. The energy you create by acting becomes the force that sustains you. 2-minute actions also build a sense of progress. Even tiny progress feels good, and that feeling encourages you to keep going. Each small win strengthens your belief that you can take the next step. The more you repeat these tiny actions, the more they stack, until momentum becomes your new normal. Over time, 2-minute starts become automatic triggers for larger habits. You don't rely on motivation anymore. You rely on movement. And movement, even the smallest kind, is what carries you forward day after day. Scaling tiny beginnings into big improvements happens through steady, intentional expansion. You don't jump from a 2-minute action to a massive transformation overnight. Instead, you let the small start create stability, and then you expand the behavior just a little at a time. A tiny beginning gives you something solid to build on, like the first brick in a foundation. Once the brick is in place, adding the next one becomes easier. The first step is consistency. You repeat the small action until it feels natural, almost automatic. This stability matters because habits grow best from routines that already exist. Once your 2-minute start becomes part of your daily rhythm, you gently increase the effort, not by doubling it overnight, but by adding a few seconds, a single repetition, or one small layer. For example, if your tiny start is doing 10 squats, you might add 2 more the next week. If your tiny start is writing 1 sentence, you might add a second sentence or set a 3-minute timer. These small expansions don't shock your system. They build on a pattern your brain already accepts. Over time, these micro-expansions stack into real progress. What once took 2 minutes slowly grows into 5, then 10, then 20. The habit strengthens because you're not fighting resistance. You're working with your brain's preference for familiarity. Each expansion feels doable, so you keep going. The secret is not speed, but patience. If you grow your tiny beginnings carefully, you avoid burnout and build habits that last. Big improvements aren't created by giant leaps. They're created by small steps, expanded slowly, until the results are too strong to ignore. Chapter 9. Emotional Energy Management. Emotional energy works like a battery. You only have so much charge available each day, and everything you do either drains or replenishes it. Just like a phone with too many apps running, your battery can drop faster than you expect. Stress, conflict, overthinking, decision fatigue, and unmet needs quietly drain power in the background. On the other hand, rest, connection, clarity, and small wins act like a charger, boosting your internal capacity. When your emotional battery is low, even simple tasks feel heavy. You become more reactive, less patient, and less motivated, not because you're weak, but because you're operating with only a fraction of your power. When your battery is full, you feel capable, optimistic, and willing to take action. You navigate challenges more smoothly because you have emotional voltage to handle them. Understanding your emotional battery changes the way you make decisions. Instead of asking, "Can I do this?" you start asking, "Do I have the energy for this?" It also encourages better self-maintenance. You begin to notice which people recharge you and which situations drain you. You adjust your schedule, protect your boundaries, and give yourself permission to rest before you hit zero. Ultimately, treating emotional energy like a battery helps you manage your life with intention. You stop expecting yourself to perform at 100% when your battery is at 12%. And you start prioritizing the actions, environments, and relationships that keep you charged enough to show up as your best self. Moods act like invisible currents that pull your habits in different directions, often without you realizing it. When you're in a good mood, calm, hopeful, energized, your brain is more open to possibility. You feel more willing to start things, more patient with yourself, and more capable of sticking to the behaviors you want. A positive emotional state makes effort feel lighter, turning ordinary actions into easy choices. But when you're in a low mood, stressed, anxious, overwhelmed, your habits shift automatically toward comfort, escape, or anything that promises quick relief. You're more likely to procrastinate, snack mindlessly, scroll your phone, or avoid responsibilities. These aren't moral failures. They're your brain trying to protect you by minimizing effort and seeking fast emotional soothing. Moods don't create habits out of nowhere, but they amplify the ones already waiting beneath the surface. A bad mood can strengthen avoidance habits, just as a good mood can reinforce growth habits. Over time, the emotional patterns you repeat become the behavioral patterns you repeat. The key is becoming aware of the link. When you notice your mood shifting, you can introduce small, stabilizing actions. Breathing, stepping outside, cleaning one surface, drinking water, writing a single sentence. These tiny moves interrupt the emotional drift and keep your habits aligned with who you want to be, rather than how you feel in the moment. Emotional depletion drains the internal resources that make consistent behavior possible. When your mind is tired, after stress, conflict, decision overload, or constant pressure, your capacity to follow through shrinks dramatically. It's not that you don't care about your goals, it's that your emotional fuel tank is running low. Consistency relies on things like focus, patience, self-control, and resilience. All of these require emotional energy. When that energy is depleted, even simple tasks feel heavier. You start skipping routines, delaying responsibilities, or abandoning plans you normally handle with ease. the brain shifts into survival mode, prioritizing relief over progress. This is why people often describe inconsistency as falling off track or losing momentum. It's not laziness, it's overload. The emotional system is signaling that it needs recovery before it can support structured behavior again. Rebuilding consistency starts with restoring emotional energy. Rest, boundaries, low-pressure wins, and small actions that give you a sense of control without demanding too much. Once your emotional reserves refill, your ability to show up becomes steadier, and the routines that felt impossible begin to feel manageable again. 1. Create an emotional self-check system. Here's a simple way for someone to quickly understand their emotional state before moving into their day. Step 1. Name your current energy level, 0-10. How full is my emotional battery right now? 0-2, drained. 3-5, low. 6-8, steady. 9-10, fully charged. Step 2, identify what's influencing it. Check the boxes that apply. Stress, sleep, overthinking, too many tasks, conflict, not enough rest, excitement, good news, support from others. Step 3, choose the right action based on your level. If you're at 0-3, do something restorative. Rest and breathe, take a break, reduce expectations. If you're at 4-6, do one small action that moves you forward without pressure. If you're at 7-10, tackle something meaningful while your energy is high. Step 4, end with a one-sentence check-in. How do I want to feel 1 hour from now? Step 5, pick a micro-action that supports that feeling. This simple system helps you adjust your actions to match your emotional capacity so you can stay consistent without burning out. Small habits that recharge emotions are often gentle, simple actions that bring us back to ourselves. They don't take much time, but they can lift the weight we carry inside. One powerful habit is pausing for one deep breath. It sounds too small to matter, yet that single breath can calm tension and bring a sense of control back into the moment. Another habit is stepping outside for even 30 seconds. Feeling fresh air on your skin resets your mind and reminds you that the world is bigger than whatever stress feels heavy. Say, journaling one sentence can also recharge emotional energy. You don't need a full page. Just writing down one truth you feel gives your mind a place to put what's bothering you. A short stretch, a glass of water, or simply closing your eyes for 10 seconds can soothe your nervous system. These tiny habits act like small drops of fuel for your emotional battery. Even sending a kind message to someone or tidying one small corner of a room can brighten your mood. These habits don't remove all stress, but they give you enough strength to move forward. Over time, these small emotional recharge moments create a softer, calmer daily rhythm that makes life feel more manageable. Micro-emotional reset activities are tiny actions that help you steady your mind and calm your feelings in just a few moments. They don't require planning, space, or effort. Just a small pause that gives your emotions room to breathe again. Here are a few simple resets you can use, and anytime your feelings start to feel heavy or tangled. 5-second breath reset. Inhale for 2 seconds, exhale for 3. It quiets your mind almost instantly. Shoulder drop. Gently lift your shoulders and let them fall. This releases hidden tension. Name the feeling. Silently say, I feel anxious, or I feel frustrated. Naming it softens it. Temperature reset. Splash cold water on your hands or face. It refreshes your emotional state. sensory pause. Look around and identify one thing you can see, hear, and feel. It grounds you. Mini declutter. Clear one small object from your desk. Order creates calm. Smile reset. Even a fake smile relaxes your nervous system. Posture shift. Sit up straight or stand tall. Changing your body changes your mood. Warm touch. Place your hand on your chest or stomach. Warmth helps your body feel safe. 30-second fresh air break. Step outside or even just open a window. New air brings new energy. These micro resets are tiny, but they help you regain control of your emotional battery before it drains too low. Over time, using them throughout your day builds emotional strength and stability. Emotional stability makes discipline easier because it reduces the inner battles that often stop people from following through. When your emotions are calm, your mind feels clearer and decisions feel lighter. You don't waste energy fighting frustration, stress, or doubt, so you have more strength to actually do the things you planned. Discipline isn't just about willpower. It's about having enough emotional space to act on your intentions. When your emotions are balanced, you think more logically. You can pause before reacting, choose healthier actions, and stay consistent even when the task isn't exciting. Emotional stability also helps you recover faster from setbacks. Instead of getting overwhelmed or giving up, you can reset, adjust, and keep going. Most importantly, emotional stability builds trust with yourself. When your feelings aren't swinging wildly, you can rely on your own actions. This steady inner state creates the foundation for good habits, strong routines, and long-term growth. Maya used to think her problem was laziness. She would start new habits with excitement, but within a week, she would fall behind, skip days, and feel disappointed in herself. She tried stricter schedules, louder alarms, and bigger goals, but nothing seemed to stick. She didn't realize that the real issue wasn't her habits, it was her emotions. She was always stressed, drained, or overwhelmed, and those feelings made even simple tasks feel heavy. One day, after another failed attempt to start a workout routine, she sat on her bed, feeling defeated. Instead of forcing herself to try harder, she tried something different. She paused and took one slow breath. Then she asked herself, "What am I feeling right now?" The answer surprised her. She wasn't unmotivated. She was emotionally exhausted. Work had been chaotic. She hadn't slept well. And she felt tense from carrying too many worries. From that moment, Maya made a decision. Before working on any habit, she would check her emotional state. She began using tiny reset actions, a 10-second stretch, a short breathing exercise, a glass of water, or writing one sentence about her feelings. These small resets didn't take much time, but they softened the weight she carried. Slowly, her habits stopped feeling like battles. As her emotions became steadier, her habits became easier. She started walking for 5 minutes each morning, and because she felt calmer, it didn't feel like a chore. She practiced a 2-minute tidy each night, and it became almost automatic. The more emotionally balanced she felt, the more consistent she became. Her progress didn't come from pushing harder. It came from managing her inner world. Over time, Maya realized something powerful. When she took care of her emotions, discipline naturally followed. What once felt impossible began to feel natural. Her life didn't change because she found the perfect habit system. It changed because she learned to steady her emotions long enough to take the first small step, again and again. Emotional awareness prevents burnout because it helps you notice exhaustion long before it becomes overwhelming. When you pay attention to your feelings, you catch the early signs: tension in your shoulders, constant irritation, trouble focusing, or a sense of heaviness you can't explain. These signals are your mind's way of saying, "I need a break." And emotional awareness allows you to hear them clearly instead of pushing past your limits. Without that awareness, people often keep going until they crash. They ignore frustration, dismiss stress, and convince themselves they should just handle it. Over time, the pressure builds, and what could have been solved with a small pause turns into full burnout. Emotional awareness interrupts that cycle. It lets you slow down, reset, or adjust before your energy completely collapses. Being in touch with your emotions also helps you understand what drains you and what restores you. You begin to see patterns. Certain tasks leave you exhausted. Certain people overwhelm you. Certain habits recharge you. With this understanding, you can protect your energy instead of constantly spending it. Most importantly, emotional awareness gives you permission to care for yourself. It teaches you that rest isn't weakness, and stepping back is sometimes the smartest way to keep moving forward. By noticing your feelings early and responding kindly, you avoid the long, painful road to burnout and build a life that supports your well-being instead of breaking it down. Chapter 10: Building Unbreakable Routines. A routine becomes strong, yet flexible when it gives you structure without trapping you. A strong routine has clear actions, a predictable rhythm, and habits that support your goals. It creates stability in your day, reduces decision-making, and keeps you moving in the right direction even when motivation fades. But if a routine is too strict, life will eventually break it. Busy days, unexpected events, emotional ups and downs. These moments can make a rigid routine fall apart. Flexibility is what keeps a routine alive. A flexible routine allows you to adjust the intensity, timing, or length of a habit without feeling like you failed. For example, if you can't do your full workout, you can still do 2 minutes of movement. If you can't read for 20 minutes, you can read 1 page. Flexibility means having a minimum version of every habit so that you stay consistent even on difficult days. What truly makes a routine both strong and flexible is the mindset behind it. Instead of aiming for perfection, you aim for continuity. You focus on showing up in some form, no matter how small. This mindset keeps the routine stable enough to guide you, but open enough to fit real life. In the end, a strong yet flexible routine doesn't break under pressure. It bends, adjusts, shrinks, or stretches when needed. And because of that, it survives. Over time, this balance makes your habits unshakable, even in an unpredictable world. A simple daily routine that survives tough days is one built around small, non-negotiable habits that take only a few minutes each. It starts with a gentle morning check-in, just a quick moment to breathe, notice how you feel, and set one tiny intention for the day. This doesn't require energy or motivation. It just asks you to pause. After that, you do one micro-action for your body, like stretching for 30 seconds or taking a short walk to the kitchen for water. Even on difficult mornings, these actions feel doable. Next, you create a small moment of order. This could be making your bed, clearing one item from your desk, or wiping a surface. It's a tiny win that gives you a sense of control when the rest of the day feels uncertain. Later, you add a 2-minute version of your most important habit. reading one page, writing one sentence, or doing one push-up. You don't aim for greatness. You aim for consistency. In the evening, your routine ends with a soft reset. This might be a 1-minute tidy, turning off one distracting notification, or taking 3 deep breaths before bed. These small steps help you unwind without asking much from you. Because every part of the routine is simple, short, and forgiving, it stays alive, even when you're tired, busy, overwhelmed, or stressed. This kind of routine works because it never depends on perfect circumstances. It adapts when life is heavy and grows when life is light. And on your toughest days, it gives you just enough stability to keep moving forward. A simple framework for designing routines can be built around 3 guiding steps. Start small, structure smart, and stay flexible. This framework helps you create habits that fit your life, last through busy seasons, and grow with you over time. 1. Start small. Begin by choosing habits that are tiny, clear, and easy to repeat. A strong routine doesn't start with big changes. It starts with actions so simple that you can do them even on your worst days. Think in terms of 2-minute beginnings. 1 page of reading, 1 stretch, 1 minute of tidying, 1 deep breath. These small actions form the foundation that every routine relies on. When you start small, you remove fear, pressure, and resistance, making it far more likely that you'll show up every day. 2. Structure smart. Once you have a few tiny habits, place them into a simple order. A routine works best when it flows naturally from one action to the next. Pair habits with moments that already happen. After brushing your teeth, after making coffee, after sitting at your desk. These natural anchors make your routine easier to remember and follow. Keep the structure short and realistic, focusing on what truly matters rather than trying to add too much at once. 3. Stay flexible. Life is unpredictable, so your routine needs room to bend. For every habit, create a minimum version you can still do when you're tired, stressed, or busy. This allows you to stay consistent without burning out. Flexibility doesn't weaken a routine. It keeps it alive. On good days, you can expand your habits. On tough days, you can shrink them. Either way, the routine stays intact. By starting small, structuring smart, and staying flexible, you build routines that are realistic, resilient, and deeply supportive. This framework ensures that your habits become part of your life, not just something you try for a week and abandon. Routines are often destroyed by the quiet, hidden forces that slip into daily life. Overwhelm, perfectionism, emotional exhaustion, and unrealistic expectations. When a routine demands too much, it collapses the moment life becomes stressful. One busy morning, one night of poor sleep, or one overwhelming week can break a routine that isn't built to bend. Another common destroyer is all or nothing thinking. People believe that if they can't do the full version of a habit, it's not worth doing at all. This mindset turns small interruptions into complete failures. Distractions weaken routines. A cluttered environment, constant notifications, or chaotic mornings can pull your attention away from what matters. When your surroundings work against you, even the best intentions fall apart. Emotional friction, stress, frustration, anxiety can drain your energy so deeply that simple habits suddenly feel impossible. To protect your routine, you must design it with softness. Make every habit small enough to survive bad days and flexible enough to adjust when life shifts. Create a minimum version of each habit so you can stay consistent even when your energy is low. Reduce friction by clearing your space, preparing the night before, or turning off unnecessary notifications. These tiny adjustments make your routine easier to follow. Next, most importantly, protect your routine with kindness. If you miss a day, return gently instead of giving up. If life gets chaotic, shrink your habits instead of abandoning them. When you treat your routine as something living, something that grows, bends, and adapts, it becomes strong enough to last. Anchor moments are the steady points in your day that hold your routine in place. They are moments that already happen without effort. Waking up, brushing your teeth, making coffee, sitting at your desk, arriving home, or getting into bed. Because these moments are consistent, they act like hooks where you can attach small habits. Instead of trying to build routines from scratch, you let your existing life carry your new behaviors forward. An anchor moment works because your brain already recognizes it as part of your daily rhythm. When you attach a habit to it, like stretching after brushing your teeth or writing one sentence after sitting at your desk, it feels natural and automatic. You don't have to remember or force anything. The anchor does the remembering for you. The beauty of anchor moments is their simplicity. They turn everyday actions into signals for growth. Over time, the connection becomes so strong that when the anchor happens, the habit follows almost without thinking. This makes your routine more stable, more consistent, and easier to maintain. By choosing anchor moments that already exist in your schedule, you create routines that feel effortless. Instead of fighting your habits, you let your habits flow from the life you already live. This is what makes anchor moments one of the most powerful tools in building a routine that lasts. Building routines around existing habits is one of the easiest and most reliable ways to create lasting change. Instead of forcing yourself to remember new actions or trying to rebuild your entire day, you simply attach a small behavior to something you already do. This works because your brain loves patterns. When an action is familiar and automatic, like brushing your teeth, turning on the kettle, or checking your phone in the morning, it becomes a natural anchor for a new habit. To start, choose one habit you already do every day without fail. It could be waking up, making breakfast, sitting at your desk, coming home from work, or preparing for bed. Then decide on a tiny new action that fits naturally with that moment. For example, if you want to start reading more, you might read one page right after you make your morning coffee. If you want to become more active, you might stretch for 30 seconds right after you get out of bed. The key is choosing a new habit that is small, simple, and directly connected to the anchor. The easier it feels, the more likely your brain will accept it as part of your routine. Over time, the two actions blend together. The moment you perform your existing habit, your mind automatically prepares for the new one. This method feels effortless because you're not creating a routine from nothing. You're building on top of habits that already exist. It's like adding a small brick to a strong foundation. Little by little, these tiny additions grow into a routine that feels stable, natural, and easy to maintain, even on your busiest days. Here are a few quick, realistic routines designed for people who have almost no time, but still want to stay consistent and grounded. 1. The 3-minute morning reset. Wake up and take one slow breath to steady yourself. Then drink a small glass of water to wake your body. Finish by doing one tiny movement, like stretching your arms or rolling your shoulders. This routine is short, calming, and easy to keep even on chaotic mornings. 2. the micro workday starter. Before beginning work, place your phone face down, clear one small item from your desk, and set a single goal for the next hour. This tiny routine creates focus without demanding energy you don't have. 3. The 2-minute evening wind down. At the end of your day, take 1 minute to tidy a small spot, your nightstand, your bag, or your desk. Then take one slow breath and ask yourself, what went well today? This routine helps you close the day gently and reset for tomorrow. 4. The in-between moments routine. Whenever you're waiting, in a line, at a stoplight, or for your food, take a quick posture check, relax your shoulders, and inhale slowly. These small moments keep your stress levels low, even during a busy schedule. 5. The quick energy reboot. If you feel drained during the day, stand up for 10 seconds, stretch your arms, take one deep breath, and drink a sip of water. It's a tiny reset, but it refreshes your focus without interrupting your schedule. These routines work because they're simple, short, and flexible. They fit into real life, especially the kind of life that doesn't slow down. Over time, these tiny actions create stability, confidence, and steady progress, even when your days are full. Routines provide stability and confidence because they create a sense of order in a world that is often unpredictable. When you follow a simple set of actions each day, your mind knows what to expect. This removes the constant guessing, decision-making, and worrying that can drain your energy. Even on days when everything feels chaotic, your routine becomes something solid you can rely on. It anchors you, giving you a small space of control in the middle of uncertainty. Stability grows when your routine repeats itself. Each time you show up for your habits, no matter how small, they remind you that you are capable of consistency. This steady repetition builds internal trust. You begin to believe, I can depend on myself. And that belief becomes a quiet source of confidence. Instead of waiting for motivation, you rely on rhythm. Instead of hoping you'll feel ready, you follow the steps you've already set. Routines also reduce emotional pressure. When life gets stressful, your routine gives you something familiar and gentle to return to. It becomes a safe path you can walk, even when you're tired or overwhelmed. This sense of predictability calms your mind, clears your thinking, and helps you make better choices. Over time, these small, reliable actions shape how you see yourself. You no longer feel like someone who struggles to stay on track. You feel like someone who follows through. And that quiet confidence grows with every small step you repeat. After months of feeling exhausted and scattered, Daniel realized he had lost his routine without even noticing. His days had become a blur of rushing, reacting, and trying to catch up. He used to have a steady rhythm: morning exercise, a little reading, a clean workspace. But life had piled up, and one busy week turned into many. Now, every day felt like starting from zero. One evening, after missing yet another personal goal, Daniel sat on the edge of his bed and admitted to himself that he couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. He didn't need a perfect routine. He just needed a small path to follow again. So he decided to rebuild, not by forcing big habits, but by starting with the smallest steps he could manage. The next morning, instead of trying to recreate his old routine, he chose one tiny action: drinking a glass of water right after waking up. It was simple, quick, and impossible to dread. He did it almost automatically. and it gave him a brief sense of control he hadn't felt in a long time. For the next few days, he stuck to that one step. Then he added a second one, making his bed. It took less than a minute, but made his room feel calmer. Slowly, his mornings began to feel more predictable, and his stress began to soften. After a week, Daniel added one more small habit, reading one page before leaving for work. At first, it felt too small to matter. Something inside him shifted. He began to look forward to that quiet moment. It became a sign that he was building something again. There were days when he slipped, especially when work was overwhelming. But instead of giving up, he returned to his tiny steps. Because they were small, they were easy to rebuild. Each time he came back, he proved to himself that he hadn't failed. He was still growing. Weeks passed, and the 3 tiny habits formed the foundation of a new routine. Daniel felt steadier, more focused, and more confident. His routine wasn't perfect, but it was alive. It supported him instead of draining him. In the end, Daniel didn't rebuild his routine by trying to be strong. He rebuilt it by choosing small actions that were gentle enough to survive his hardest days. Step by step, those tiny habits carried him back to a life that felt stable again. A routine safety net is a simple system that protects your habits on the days when life gets messy, stressful, or unpredictable. It doesn't replace your routine. It catches you when you fall so you don't lose all your progress. A good safety net is built from gentle steps that are easy to follow even when you have low energy, low motivation, or very little time. The first part of the safety net is the minimum version of each habit. For every habit you care about, choose the smallest possible action you can still do on your worst day. If your ideal habit is a 30-minute workout, your minimum version might be 10 squats. If your goal is to read a chapter, your minimum version is 1 page. This keeps you connected to the identity you're building, no matter how tough the day is. The second part is the emotional reset step. Before you try to follow your routine, pause for 10 seconds and check in with yourself. Ask, how do I feel right now? Then use a tiny reset. A deep breath, a short stretch, or a sip of water. This small pause lowers emotional friction and makes your routine easier to follow. The third part is the priority rule. When everything feels overwhelming, choose just one tiny habit to complete. One action is enough to keep your routine alive. This prevents the "I messed up, so why bother" mindset that destroys progress. The fourth part is the return ritual. If you miss a day, or even a few days, have a simple phrase or action that brings you back. It could be saying, "Start small again," or doing your smallest habit as soon as you remember. The return ritual removes guilt and makes restarting feel natural. The final part is the end-of-day reset. Before bed, take 1 minute to tidy something small, reflect on one win, or breathe slowly. This tiny closing action cleans up the day and prepares you for a fresh start tomorrow. A routine safety net doesn't demand perfection. It gives you gentle steps, emotional support, and tiny actions that keep your habits alive. With this system, you don't fall apart when life gets hard. You land softly, reset, and rise again. Chapter 11. When progress stalls, plateaus happen because your mind and body adapt to whatever you repeat. In the beginning, everything feels new and progress shows up quickly. But once the system becomes efficient, the same actions no longer create the same results, so growth naturally slows. Another reason plateaus show up is that routines often stay the same while your needs evolve. What once challenged you may eventually become too easy to stimulate real improvement. Plateaus can also be caused by hidden friction, stress, poor sleep, emotional overwhelm, clutter, or lack of clarity. These weaken your effort even when you're still doing the work. Appear simply because progress isn't linear. Growth often comes in bursts, followed by quiet periods where the body and mind stabilize. Plateaus aren't failure. They're signals that it's time to refresh your approach, adjust your habits, or add a little challenge to spark movement again. The emotional side of stagnation can feel heavier than the stagnation itself. When you stop seeing progress, even if you're still trying, it can feel like something inside you is stuck. You begin to question your effort, your direction, and sometimes even your worth. It's easy to slip into self-doubt when the work you're doing doesn't give you the feedback you hoped for. Stagnation often brings frustration because you feel the gap between where you are and where you want to be. That gap can create tension, stress, and a quiet sense of disappointment that follows you through the day. You may start comparing yourself to others, wondering why they're moving while you're standing still, even though their journey is completely different. There's also a hidden sadness in stagnation. Part of you wants to keep growing, but another part feels tired of trying. This emotional push and pull makes it harder to continue, even when you know stopping won't help. Yet, within this emotional fog, there is an important truth. Stagnation is not a sign that you're broken. It's a sign that you're human. Feeling stuck means you care. It means you're aware of your potential and frustrated because you haven't reached it yet. When you understand this, the emotions become easier to carry. You can see stagnation not as an enemy, but as a message telling you it's time to adjust, rest, or try a new angle instead of giving up. The biology of adaptation is the reason progress feels fast at first and slower over time. When you begin something new, like exercise, learning a skill, or changing a habit, your brain and body react quickly because the activity is unfamiliar. Your muscles grow, your brain forms new connections, and your systems work harder to adjust. This early stage creates noticeable progress, which is why the beginning often feels exciting. As you keep repeating the same behavior, your body becomes more efficient. Muscles learn how to use less energy for the same movement. The brain strengthens the neural pathways needed for the task, making it easier and automatic. This efficiency is good for survival, but it also means the same effort produces smaller improvements. Adaptation also affects motivation. When you stop seeing big leaps forward, your brain doesn't get the same dopamine reward it received in the early stages. This can make the work feel less rewarding, even though you're still growing beneath the surface. Eventually, the body and brain settle into a balanced state where the challenge no longer pushes them to improve. This is where plateaus form. To spark new progress, you usually need a small change, slightly more difficulty, a new strategy, or a different approach, so your systems are challenged again. Understanding adaptation helps you see plateaus not as failure, but as a natural biological response. It reminds you that progress is still happening inside you, even when it's not visible yet. Small adjustments can break plateaus because they gently disrupt the routine your mind and body have grown too comfortable with. You don't need dramatic changes to restart progress. Just tiny shifts that add a little challenge, variety, or energy back into what you're doing. One simple adjustment is to increase the difficulty by the smallest amount possible. If you're exercising, add 1 extra rep, 1 extra minute, or a tiny bit more weight. This small push tells your body, we're growing again, without overwhelming you. Another adjustment is to change the style of what you're doing. If you're studying, switch the method. Use flashcards instead of reading, teach the material out loud, or try a different environment. A small change in approach wakes up your brain because it forces new engagement. You can also break a plateau by adjusting your timing. Move a habit to a different part of the day when your energy is higher or your environment is calmer. Small timing shifts can unlock a smoother flow. Sometimes the best adjustment is subtracting, not adding. Remove distractions, remove extra steps, or remove unnecessary pressure. Simplifying a habit often makes it easier to grow again. Even emotional adjustments help. Add a moment of gratitude before you start. Listen to a song that lifts you, or remind yourself of why the habit matters. A small emotional shift can turn a heavy routine into a lighter one. These tiny changes don't look big from the outside, but they shake you out of autopilot and create new signals for your body and brain. Over time, these small adjustments accumulate, and the plateau that once felt solid begins to crack open, letting progress move again. Reevaluating your goals during stagnation is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of growth. When progress slows, it's an invitation to step back and look at what you're aiming for with fresh eyes. Sometimes the goal is still right, but the path is wrong. Other times, the goal itself needs adjusting because you've changed, your circumstances have shifted, or your priorities have evolved. The first step is to pause and ask yourself what you truly want right now. Goals made months ago might not fit your current life. Stagnation often reveals that you've outgrown an old direction without realizing it. By checking in with yourself, you give your goals a chance to match your present reality. Next, break the goal down and look at its pieces. Ask which parts are working and which parts feel heavy or unclear. Stagnation often comes from trying to push a goal that was never specific enough or realistic for your daily life. Reevaluating gives you the chance to refine it, make it smaller, more concrete, or more meaningful. It also helps to reconnect the goal to your identity. Ask, does this goal reflect who I want to become? When a goal aligns with your sense of self, it fuels you instead of draining you. If it doesn't match your identity anymore, it's okay to shift it. Finally, during reevaluation, focus on flexibility rather than perfection. Adjust the timeline, the approach, or the intensity. Sometimes the goal stays the same, but the pace changes. Other times you might change the goal slightly so it inspires you again. Reevaluating your goals during stagnation is not about giving up. It's about making sure you're climbing the right mountain, with the right tools, at a pace that keeps you moving forward instead of standing still. Maria had been trying to learn the guitar for almost a year. At first, she made fast progress. She learned a few chords, played simple songs, and felt proud every time her fingers moved a little faster. But after a while, everything slowed down. Her fingers wouldn't cooperate on harder transitions, and no matter how much she practiced, the songs sounded the same. She felt stuck, almost frozen in place. Every time she picked up the guitar, a small voice inside her whispered, "Maybe you're just not good at this." One evening, after another frustrating practice session, she put the guitar down and stared at it. For the first time, she wondered if she should quit. The joy she once felt had faded, replaced by heaviness she couldn't explain. She wasn't just stuck with the guitar, she felt stuck with herself. But the next morning, something shifted. As she scrolled through her old notes, she found a message she had written months earlier. Progress comes in layers. When it stops showing on the surface, it's still happening inside. Those words made her pause. She realized she hadn't changed anything about her practice in a long time. She was repeating the same routine, hoping it would magically get easier. So she decided to try something different. Instead of practicing difficult songs, she focused on one tiny improvement, switching between two chords smoothly. She set a timer for 5 minutes and practiced only that. It felt almost too simple, but it was the first time in weeks she didn't feel overwhelmed. Day by day, she added small adjustments. She slowed down her strumming. She practiced in a different room. She even changed the time she played, mornings instead of nights, when her mind felt fresher. These changes were tiny, but they gave her a sense of movement she hadn't felt in months. One morning, during a quiet practice session, Maria noticed something surprising. Her fingers moved more easily. The transition that once felt impossible now felt natural. She didn't even realize when it had improved. It happened quietly, beneath the surface, just like her old note had said. With new confidence, she returned to the songs that once defeated her. This time, they sounded better, smoother, more alive. She wasn't just playing the notes, she was making music. Maria had been stuck for a long time, but she didn't break through by pushing harder. She broke through by stepping back, making small changes, and giving herself space to grow again. Progress returned, not as a giant leap, but as a gentle rise. Proof that even when everything feels stuck, the right tiny shift can start everything moving again. Boredom causes plateaus because it slowly drains the energy that keeps a habit alive. When something is new, your brain pays attention. Every action feels interesting, and your mind releases small bursts of dopamine that make you want to continue. But as the routine becomes familiar, the excitement fades. Your brain no longer sees anything new to explore, so it stops giving you the same emotional reward. When boredom sets in, your effort becomes automatic, and your engagement drops. You go through the motions, but you're not fully present. Without focus or curiosity, progress slows. You stop noticing details, stop trying new angles, and stop pushing yourself even slightly. This creates a quiet stall, one that doesn't feel dramatic, but still holds you in place. Boredom also leads to shortcuts. You might rush through a habit just to finish it or skip parts that matter. Over time, this weakens the quality of your practice, and the improvement that once came easily disappears.